welcome, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. So this week's case is on the Mbhele sisters, and this case occurred in 2005 and it's currently a cold case. So it's been a cold case for 15 years. So this case is still currently ongoing, but police did have suspects back in the day, and you'll see they went to court, but it's technically still a cold case. These are the Mbhele sisters, and the oldest of the two is Lindiwe Mbhele, and she was born in 1990. Lindiwe is described as being a tomboy. She loved soccer, and she actually played soccer, and she was a huge Orlando Pirates fan. She loved the Pirates. The youngest of the two was Nelisiwe Mbhele, and Nelisiwe was born in 1993. She was a mommy's girl, and she was just a girly girl. She was only 12 at the time, and she just learned how to do the cha-cha. She was taking dance lessons, and she was the scholar patrol captain at her school. The sisters were best friends. They shared the same bed. They would fight, just like normal siblings fight, about clothes, about music, just about small things. They were best friends, and their dad says that they were always on their phones. They used to have this Motorola flip phones, and they were always on their phones, and their dad would shout at them and tell them to stop using their phones, but kids, they were always on their phones. And the sisters lived in Mbhele in Soweto. They lived with their parents, Eso and Thokozile Mbhele. And the couple had 3 older children, a son named Xolani, a daughter named Thuli, and another daughter named Lungile. So they had 5 children in total, and Lindiwe and Nelisiwe were the youngest 2. Let's fast forward to the 1st of June 2005. Lindiwe Mbhele was 15 and Nelisiwe Mbhele was 12 years old at the time. So it was just a normal school day. The sisters woke up, they got ready for school, they drank tea, they had bread with jam, and they went to school. They came back home around 12:30, and usually after school they come back home, and then later on the day around 4 and 5 they would meet their mother at a church. The church was in Mansfield Hostel, so after school they go to the hostel to go attend church. So they came back home and they had their lunch, and their lunch was like rice and cabbage and pap, and actually Nelisiwe dropped rice on the floor, and their oldest sister Lungile shouted at Nelisiwe at why she was clumsy. Apparently Nelisiwe is very clumsy, and Lindiwe, being always protective over Nelisiwe, she confronted their sister Lungile as to why she was shouting at Nelisiwe, because she was just a kid. So that goes to show how close Lindiwe and Nelisiwe were. So the girls ate their lunch, and they were actually watching the Powerpuff Girls, and after they ate their lunch they then changed into their church uniform. Their mother had taken out clothes for them the previous night to wear that day, and also their church robes. So Nelisiwe and Lindiwe then wore their church robes and their church clothes, and they left the house at 3:30, and that was the last time that their sister Lungile saw them. She was the last person to see them that day. Their father Eso Mbhele got home later on that night, and it was normal because when he got home the 2 sisters and their mother were at church, so he didn't see anything unusual. He just assumed that they were at church. And also at the same time, their mother Thokozile Mbhele was on her way back home, and she was wondering why those 2 girls didn't come to church that day. So when she got home, she found out that the girls were not there. They actually left, but they didn't come back, and they also didn't come to church. So she became worried and started phoning friends to see if anyone had seen them that day, and nobody had seen them. And their father Eso didn't take it seriously initially. He just went for a nap, and he didn't think something like that could happen. But when he woke up from the nap a couple of hours later, he started to panic as the girls had not arrived. Girls usually took this other route when they went to the church at Mansfield Hostel, and the route took where they went through this field, and this field was actually called the Killing Field. So a bunch of people have been robbed, and I saw apparently bodies were found in that field. So it was a very dangerous field they used to pass, and their father Eso had told them not to use that route, but kids, they said what must they do because it's like the shortest way, so they continued using their route. So their father, when he woke up from the nap, he decided just to go and check if maybe the girls are there, just maybe if you can find anything. But sadly he didn't find anything, and the girls were then reported missing. On the 13th of June 2005, the bodies of 15-year-old Lindiwe Mbhele and 12-year-old Nelisiwe Mbhele were found. They were found near the Mansfield hostel where they were going to church, and the bodies were charred, and after a post-mortem results, it found out they were actually been strangled, and there were signs that they had been raped. They were still wearing their church robes, but they were half naked. After the bodies of the girls were discovered, it became a very high-profile case, and the police assigned their top detectives, and two of the detectives that were assigned to the case were Lieutenant Colonel Lungele Dlamini and Detective Amos Matela. And these detectives handle high priority cases. They also handled the Jub case, so it goes to show you like it was a high profile case. After months of hard work and thorough investigations, 10 months after the girls' bodies were discovered, the detectives made a breakthrough in the case when they found a witness who lived at the Mansfield hostel, and she said that she had actually seen the sisters getting into a white Crusader. After they tracked down the white Crusader, it led to the arrest of two men, 23-year-old Sihle Matonda and 22-year-old Lwazi Mvelase. And a year after the death of the girls, another man, Lwazi Mvelase's brother Michael Mvelase, was also arrested in connection to the murders. In October 2006, charges against the three men were dropped because the judge said that the state didn't have enough evidence to link the man to the crime, and DNA that was retrieved from the girls didn't actually match the DNA that was found on the sisters. And another reason the charges were dropped is because the state was relying heavily on the witness who had seen the sisters enter into the white Crusader, and her credibility was actually questioned because just of the fact that she only came forward after she was given protection. She actually went into witness protection and she was moved from Mansfield hostel, and that's when she initially came forward, and she initially told police that she hadn't seen the girls that day. She told the parents that she hadn't seen the girls, and she later said that she had actually seen them, so her credibility was questioned. And another thing that I found quite interesting when I was reading this case is that the judge, he said that he didn't believe that the girls were raped, and if they were raped, it was actually consensual. And I'm just thinking, firstly, they were 12 and 15. It wasn't consensual because they were still kids. And also, if it was consensual, why were they being killed? That's just an observation that I had. I thought it was quite interesting as to why a judge would say that. So the case is still open, it's still being investigated, and Lieutenant Colonel Dlamini actually retired, and he says that he kept a file of the girls' case on his desk throughout those years, and he says that this is the case that haunts him till this day. And Lieutenant Amos Matela says that in his 31-year career he solved all cases except this one, so he says that it's one of those cases that still haunts him till this day. So I think that there are people who are still working on this case, and it has been 15 years since this case occurred, so hopefully something will come out pretty soon. So that's the end of this week's case. If you did enjoy this case, please do subscribe and do let me know what you think down below. Thank you very much.